On today's Locked On Texan podcast, day 3 of training camp is in the books. Here, Cody and I's thoughts on that. Damian Pierce feels like the Houston Texans can do what? And our early evaluations of Will Anderson.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to a weekend episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day and sometimes on the weekend. If you are new to the Locked On Texan podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you are one of our returning everydayers, shout out to you guys for checking us out each and every day. I am your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy, Hickman. Of course, I am joined by none other than Texans Sports Illustrated's own and Texas Credential Media member, Cody Davis. Had a very fun day out on Friday looking at the Houston Texans. Had an opportunity to be out there training camp with the Houston Texans, Cody. We got a lot, of course, to talk about each and every day. What were some of your day 3 wins at training camp? From training camp, excuse me.
Well, I'm just going to start basically where I left off, man. This defense is really good. During Thursday's day 2 of training camp, this was a defense that came away with 3 takeaways. They did not record a takeaway on Friday. However, they were just as good and just as dominant getting after the football. My second big win of day 3 of Houston Texans training camp was Will Anderson Jr. I'm going to save my thoughts on Anderson in the second segment. However, it was very good to see his impact on that defensive front, on that defensive line. And 3, most importantly, Keon Green. The biggest thing and part of the reason why I don't want to give up on Keon Green because I know this young man has the potential to really improve the Houston Texans offensive line, especially his impact in creating gaps for the running back. He got more reps with the first team on Friday, and that is what we saw. There were several occasions, whether it was Damian Pierce, whether it was Devin Singletary, where they had an opportunity to run up the gaps, and majority of those gaps was created by Keon Green. So he really proved that, hey, I know I've been hurt. I know I've been on the shelf. I know that I haven't been out here too much, but this is a young man that it is not time to give up on him as of yet because the impact that he has on that offensive line, an offensive line that is just about set with Laramie Tunsil, Shaq Mason, and Titus Howard. We had an opportunity to speak to Titus Howard about his contract extension on Friday, and this is offensive line that is set in the addition of Keon Green. Look, we, as of right now, we are not expecting him to be a game changer. However, his presence alone, the way he's able to create gaps, especially in the run game, is very vital for the Houston Texans.
So my 3 wins on the day was Devin Singletary had a good day for the Houston Texans. And I love that he had a fumble at one point during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I love the way how you're highlighting the offensive line. They did a very good job not only opening up holes for Damian Pierce when he got on the field, but Devin Singletary, he looked crisp. You know, he's going to be an asset for Houston in the passing game out of the backfield. So I thought Devin Singletary had a very good day. One of my wins comes at the hands of coaching, man. Dino Vasso, I know that he loves the group of cornerbacks that he's coaching right now. I love the way that he was out there coaching, going through every explanation with his guys, slowing it down when need be throughout drills. He's in the mix with them, working on technique, and he's very vocal about getting things done the right way. And what I love the most about that is the players are responding the right way. A lot of y'all may think that because of the tweets, because of the Instagram post, Steven Nelson would be a problem. But honestly, Cody, your first 2 days out there, my first day out there, which would have been your third day out there, I didn't see nothing of a distraction from Steven Nelson.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was business as usual. And I think that's the win. Your first 2 days out there, Cody, was Steven Nelson a distraction, or what has he been like? Because when I saw Steven Nelson, he was locked in, focused about ball.
No, and I do want to talk about Steven Nelson and highlight him because he has been one of the biggest wins for the Houston Texans through the first 3 days of training camp. And I do want to go back to when he had the Instagram post and the Twitter post talking about Nick Caserio, and everyone knows he wants a new contract. I was one of the people who was saying, you know what, it's time to get Steven Nelson up out of here because he's going to be a distraction. I was basing that off of past experiences. All you got to do is just rewind the film to November, right after the trade deadline. You remember what Brandon Cook said in his tweets. You remember what Brandon Cook said when we had an opportunity to speak to him after the so-called week that they gave him off. They didn't say suspension, but they didn't allow him to suit up. I believe that was going into week 9 of the 2022 campaign because he did not suit up for that Thursday night game against the Eagles. And Brandon Cooks was very vocal about his displeasure, and he ended up becoming a distraction. You saw a shift in that locker room. You saw a shift in his play on the field, except for the final game. But every time a player got frustrated, they ended up being a distraction. And given the promise that this team was coming into the season with, I didn't want to see the Texans go down that path. However, Steven Nelson has not gone down that path. He has been even more locked in, more productive in practice. That when I compare his play to last year, like I think Steven Nelson is going out there and putting everything on the field through these first 3 days of training camp, more so than what he did last year. And I wonder, John, whether or not he came to his senses and say, you know what, let me just go out there and do my job because I'm still under contract and I might not get the money that I'm seeking from the other 31 teams. Or is this somewhat of an example of the Texans' new leadership with Coach DeMeco Ryans? Because one thing that I've noticed every time somebody speak on Coach DeMeco Ryan, whether it be Nick Caserio, whether it be a former player that he had like Jimmy Ward, or is it the new players that still trying to get to know him, the one thing that they always talk about is his demeanor and being able to relate with him. And I'm just wondering if this sense of urgency we've seen out of Steven Nelson, like I mentioned, is just due to the new leadership that this organization has.
Also, one of my wins for the day was DeMeco Ryans taking time during the play breaks to help coach up and talk to guys like Christian Harris and Henry Toto. The connection between him and Harris, you can tell that he's invested in him as a young man and as a player on and off the field. There were moments where I saw on Friday that, again, during the play breaks, during the opportunities where there's a void with nothing going on, he still has something going on, coaching them up on the field actively at that time. I loved it. Taking time out with the rookie, and he spoke highly of Henry after the practice with the presser. So love what I'm seeing from Coach DeMeco connecting with his players, especially the linebacker group. With the first team rep, HT was out there. The rookie was out there. And linebacker. So I did love to see that. But you talk about DeMeco Ryans. One of the things that Ryans talked about on Friday was the rotation of players and guys getting opportunity out there on the field for the Houston Texans.
Well, for all of our guys, to me, we have a first team, second team, third team, just organization of practice. But I tell our guys, it doesn't matter, right, where your rep comes from. You just need to make sure you maximize the rep that you get, whether it's with the ones, twos, or threes. It doesn't matter. Are you playing your technique? Are you executing exactly how you're supposed to execute? That's what matters to us as coaches.
Guys are getting the reps. Guys are out there being mixed in with the ones with the twos. I love the fact that offensively, CJ and Davis, they're out there throwing to whoever may be a projected starter, and Nico Collins and Noah Brown. Then you look at they're out there throwing to Jerry Wayne, Tank Dell. So there's a great mixture of players getting opportunities. And what I love about it the most is this is allowing Houston to go through a full evaluation of their roster. and see who they're going to stick around. Nick Caserio did say that they're going to have a tough time with some of these roster cuts. And for Houston to get out there isn't a real, outside of the offensive line, right? There isn't a real first team, second team, third team. It's just a team and guys going out there, performing, and getting evaluated that way. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job and then add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to help spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to for faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Saturday installment of Locked On Texans. Don't worry, guys. We will take a break for Sunday only because the Houston Texans will have a day off today. However, they will be back out on the practice field early Sunday morning, and that is going to be the first day of pads. And John, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, I cannot wait to see these guys in pads because that is when you get a real opportunity to get a true evaluation of where these players are at this stage of the season. Most importantly, what is going on in the trenches. And Friday was the very first day where Will Anderson Jr. really caught my eye.
Yeah.
He looked really good on that defensive front, playing the edge. And Friday was also the first day where I noticed he was starting to get a little bit more reps with the ones. Now, I don't know if they're going to go by committee, because the one thing that I did notice on Friday, and I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on this over the course of the next couple of weeks, was Will Anderson Jr., Jerry Hughes, and John Gennard. All three of those guys was rotating, playing the edge with the ones. John, I like that because all three of those guys have a knack at getting after the quarterback. And I think next season, I wouldn't be surprised if neither one of those guys get an opportunity to reach double digit in sacks. However, I think all of those guys has the potential to hover somewhere between, let's say, 5.5 to 8 sacks. And that is going to be very beneficial for a guy like Jerry Hughes, because even though he had a great year to lead this team in sacks with 8, I always kept saying, I don't want to see an aging veteran like that be this team's best player at getting after the quarterback. Now, before moving on to how great Will Anderson played on Friday, I do want you guys to listen to what Coach D'Amico Ryans had to say when I asked him about early evaluations about Will Anderson Jr. and what type of impact can he have on that defensive front.
Will, the impact that he's shown is just he is full speed every rep, right? He plays with the intensity that I love in our defensive end and what we'll need. So, it's encouraging to see his effort, his tenacity every single day. Never takes a play off, hates when we try to give him a rep off. He gets mad at the coaches. So it's that mindset that we knew Will had when we drafted him, and just excited with where he is right now.
Everybody already knows that one of, if not Anderson's best attribute, is his ability to get after the quarterback. However, John, I truly believe that his talent alone will help the Houston Texans stop the run in 2023. By far, my favorite play of yesterday's practice took place during 11-on-11 drills, where he was able to get past Dalton Schultz and stop Damian Pierce in the backfield. And if he didn't stop him in the backfield, he gave up no more than 1 yard. I'm loving for what I'm seeing from Will Anderson Jr. And the fact that on Friday was the first day where he truly got reps with the first team says a lot about his development.
Yeah, and again for Will Anderson and what the coaching staff is doing, we talked about D'Amico Ryans and the coaching staff rotating guys out. He didn't start the day as a starter, right? It was Jerry Hughes out there with John Grenard,
Mm-hmm.
but though Houston traded up for him, Will Anderson is a guy that they really want to be a staple for this franchise. They are, you can tell that they're kind of working them in, just like every other player, just like
Mm-hmm.
Hutch, just like Dale, just like even second year guys. They're rotating them in to get them comfortable. But with Will Anderson on Friday, guys, he just went out there and made plays. So we was on tailgate talk with Big Sarge, right? And this is what Big Sarge, Brian Bearfield of the Texan Wire, this is when he does his after practice discussions. And one of the things that I said that I loved about the day defensively, there ain't no punks on this defense in terms of they dogs, man, they communicating, and not only are they communicating, but they're talking their talk, right? To say it the cleanest way I can. And Will Anderson was right there along with him, right? As a rookie. So he's being vocal. I love that. I love that we're hearing him talk. We're hearing his voice, but I also love that he's going out there and making plays. The play before not Will Anderson, the play before the Damian Pierce stop, Will Anderson also would have had a sack if they was out there
Mm-hmm.
putting their hands on quarterbacks for real.
Yeah.
And that was on a rollout, I believe. He did not get chipped, but he was able to crash down.
That looked like it was more so a miscommunication, a misassignment on the offensive line. I don't know what was going
I don't
on.
think he got chipped on their play on their play action
Mm-mm.
rollout like he was supposed to. But he also had the speed, which was impressive, to crash down and seal off the edge, and he could have made a
Mm-hmm.
play on the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And so a guy that you traded up for, you want to see him be able to get sacks out there. Also considering what Houston gave up to get him. But Will Anderson had a very good day, and we hadn't talked a lot about Will Anderson to the point where it kind of seemed like a mystery. If I'm a listener, I'm like, wow, I haven't heard much about Will Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Now you hear, and he isn't invisible. He hasn't been, at least from my two eyes, he hasn't been missing from practice. But he also had a very good day on Friday, and loving what I saw. Can't wait to continue to watch him kind of progress throughout training camp. Welcome back in, Locked On Texan listeners and viewers. Damian Pierce has something very incredible to say. I thought that was interesting, something that's going to fill this franchise with joy and excitement. Before we do that, Davis Mills and CJ Stroud, they rotated in with the ones and the twos. It's clear at this point that Houston likes the veteran leadership of Case Keenum over anything. He primarily came in with the third unit, made some plays at the quarterback position. But right now, CJ and Davis, they're running with the ones and twos. One thing that I mentioned about Davis when we did our quarterback preview, I wanted to see Davis get better at some of the things that he struggled with last year. Pocket awareness, being able to settle your feet and throw the ball, right? Being able to increase your accuracy on some of the more difficult throws. Well, Noah Brown, who looked very good for Houston on Friday, in the first couple of days of camp, Cody, you and a lot of other the beat reporters and credential media members that cover the team talked about how good Noah Brown has looked. He had a step on Derek Stingley. Now, it wasn't a wide gap of a step, and I truly believe if the ball was in the air and a play was needed to be made, Derek Stingley could have made that play. But he had a step on Derek Stingley. Davis Mills was the quarterback, and the throw that I thought Cody was going to catch it by the time the ball came down.
It was looking like it was going to come my way.
And the play right after that, he had, I want to say it was a slant route, and he oversailed the ball to a receiver. And then a couple of plays after that, Hawaii undrafted rookie, the tight end, Jordan Murray, who looked good on the day as well, ran an out route, and Davis Mills struggled to connect on that play as well. So the things that I wanted to see out of Davis Mills get better at, I haven't saw it from my own four eyes yet, and it seems like just kind of, listening to some of the other reporters that were out there, that's been a theme for Davis Mills. He may look good in one area, but overall, it's clear that C.J. Stroud is this team's number one quarterback. Now, for Damian Pierce, Cody, roll the tape. Just roll the tape.
Damian, how do you view the AFC South right now and the Texans' chances of possibly winning the division?
Everything going to the AFC South. We play twice a year. No, it's wide open. We got a lot of everybody is kind of in the same phase, rebuilding, new quarterbacks. A lot of teams are really like what we got. We got Trevor, we got Anthony, we got us, we got Derrick Henry in this league. So obviously we the I feel like we the conference that got the most running. You know what I'm saying? We pride ourselves on running the ball. So like I said, bro, when we get this offense rolling with Kemp, we get all these kinks out. The ceiling is up here with Coach Slow, because Coach Slow always trying to, create the explosive plays, create the explosive runs. So as long as we stay true to ourselves and play clean football and don't kick ourselves in the foot, I feel like we can definitely finish at the top.
That was your second year running back, Damian Pierce. And by the way, had an opportunity to speak with Titus Howard. While we were talking to Titus Howard, Laremy Tunsil comes in. He said, "Hey, they paid that boy." And this was right after I had an opportunity to ask Titus Howard about him being able to enter his Laremy Tunsil role now that he's a vet in the role for the youngest. And so it just so happened like that for the vet to come in and congratulate the next vet man up. But Titus Howard described Bobby Slowick as calm and smart. So I'm very interested to see what Bobby Slowick is going to do with this offense. But there you guys have it, man. Damian Pierce, along with some of the other guys, like the excitement around this franchise right now is high. You hear some of the players, you hear some of the coaches more so the players compare and contrast in their tone and how they are responding to questions about this year compared to last year. You hear them kind of look at last year as a failure, and this year is something that not necessarily a failure, but this year is something that they can compete and be successful in. And so with Damian Pierce mentioning that this team has an opportunity to reach a high ceiling and possibly maybe winning the division. I don't want to say it because I've been saying it. But just I loved hearing a player being able to look at what's going around them, hype up their team, and say to themselves, and then say to us, in which we bring it to you guys, this team has an opportunity to compete and maybe, possibly, just maybe, win this division.
Look, I don't see them winning the division, but what I would say is if all of the development and early adjustments, early teachings go the Texans' way, they do have a chance. Only because, and you guys heard Damian Pierce said it, almost everybody in this division is basically in the same boat. You have a young quarterback, several young promising prospects, and this is a division that loves to run the football. So, look, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't want to put that type of expectations on the Texans because I do believe the first 3 to 4 games of the season is going to be very important for not just the players, but for the coaching staff as well, because this is the first time that Coach D'Amico Ryans is going to be the head coach. This is going to be the first time that Bobby Sloy is going to be the offensive coordinator. There's a lot of first time or, this is only my second year guys on the coaching staff and on the field where it's like, okay, we just got to give these guys time to develop and find their niche before, at least for me, put expectations on these guys on the franchise.
Thank you guys for checking out the weekend show of the Locked On Texans podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on Twitter, formerly now known as X, at John_Hickman12. Follow Locked On Texans on Twitter at Locked On Texans. And so I'll be back out there on Sunday, man. And boy, can I not wait to continue to see how this franchise grows. It was okay for me, honestly.
Well, you tripping. It was hot. Every day it get hotter and hotter. Boy. But as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter and Thread at Cody Davis _24. Once again, that's Cody COTY DAVIS _24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.